the 8th largest county in Ohio. It's not a little town.
First, nice night. Okay.
And he said, we may be off.
He'll take care of it.
But that's what really bothered me was that guy outside. You know, you ride the gunfight. 41 years of riding a police car as a reserve. I never rode the gunfight.
Get started with our nice cozy group. Begin with Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Brief prayer. Dear Lord, we come together today to meet and discuss important issues before our community. We ask for your blessings on this meeting. We ask that your wisdom would guide us in our discussion today. Thank you for this opportunity you give us to serve you and serve others. May our actions and our attitudes please you this day. We pray these things in your almighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, just a brief announcement before we start. Our next meeting next month, we're having Professor Wagner. He spoke at, what did you hear him at?
Constitution celebration.
Constitution celebration. He's Professor William Wagner. He currently serves as the president and chairman of Salt Lake Global. And he holds the academic rank of distinguished professor. He was in Salt and Light were involved in helping people down in Weddington a little while ago. They had the big issue about removing the Father Marquette cross. Salt and Light was involved in helping them fight that action down there.
And whatever happened, Bob?
What?
Whatever happened then?
They made it. I think they made an arrangement that they could keep it there somehow. I don't know.
That's your Bob.
Yeah.
I thought they were making arrangements to buy.
We're going to buy the land, weren't they? And that's how they were.
Gonna resolve it.
Yeah, Rod and Rose are the ones that.
I haven't heard anything further.
But they had worked. I know they had tried to work out. They had worked out something. Anyhow, that's the type of things that Salt and Light are involved in. Christianity and the impact on our country right now. He's an internationally recognized expert in constitutional law and good governance. As lead amicus counsel in various manners before the U.S. Supreme Court, and he has authored briefs on behalf of various Christian organizations for the Supreme Court. And there's a whole bunch of other things he's done. He served as a federal judge in the United States Court, legal counsel in the U.S. Senate, senior assistant United States attorney in the Department of Justice, and an American diplomat. So, it should be fairly interesting. I know this presentation you guys heard, he was very good. So, that's what the announcement. With that, go ahead and have Jill speak. We don't need a long introduction, I don't think so.
I'm on a long introduction.
We have to introduce Jill for the camera, Bob.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Jill Nowak, the county clerk. And for those that I haven't met yet, which I think I know almost everybody here, just a little intro on me is I'm a hometown girl. Married to my husband for 39 years. We have 2 grown daughters. One is a special ed teacher, and one is in food and beverage in Bel Air, Michigan, Shady Creek. And I worked for the county for about 25 years now, and kind of rose up through the ranks. I was a clerk, and then I was a chief deputy clerk, and now I'm the clerk. So it's kind of a nice little succession. I had gone back to school after when my daughters went to college. I went to college, and I got my associates in marketing management from West Shore College in 2008, and then I went on to Ferris and got my bachelor's in business administration. So better late than never, right? So if anybody tells you you can't do that when you're 40-some years old, you can. So anyway, that's just a little bit about me. Like I said, I've been in the office for quite some time, and the county clerk's office is a busy place. We are the registrar for all vital records, births, deaths, marriages, issue marriage licenses. Our records go back to 1867, for those of you, anybody that does genealogy. We have a lot of people that come in and do that for 10 years, so it's pretty interesting. The county clerk is also the clerk of the county board of commissioners, so I take all their minutes and all the official business for the county is retained in our office. I am the clerk of the circuit court, which circuit court is the higher court of a trial court in the county, and we handle all felonies, any civil files are over $25,000, divorces, custody. We also have the family division in our office, and that is delinquency, children under 16 or under, and neglect abuse cases, adoption cases, name changes, emancipations, all that kind of good stuff. So we do a lot of court work. My staff is, we're clerks, there's a clerk in every court hearing in circuit court, so we do all the note-taking and maintaining the files and all the new filings. I'm also the clerk of the jury board, and the jury board sends out the summonses. Some of you said to me tonight that you're on jury duty. Well, sorry, but that has put my name on it too. So, I'm also the clerk of the plat board in the county. We also handle assumed names, partnerships, and DVAs. I administer the concealed pistol licenses. As you know, there was a law change here in 2015 where the county gun board was eliminated, and the administration and responsibilities are now with the county clerk. So I work in conjunction with the Michigan State Police and approve the CPLs or retract those, or depends if people get felonies. There's certain felonies, you can't have a felony in a CPL. So we could talk about that a little bit later, but we do all that in our office. I'm also the clerk of the county election commission, so any proposal language or recalls all go through my office. We do all that scheduling, and it's a really tight time frame that we have to stat by statute. Clerk of the board of canvassers. We canvass every election, the next day after the election, and that is a very detailed process as well. And I know we have a board of canvasser here tonight with us. Joyce is on the board, and today they were in the office, and they were, every 4 years we approve our ballot containers for storage for ballots. So today was the day we did that. So that's just another job that they have to do. I'm also the chief election official for the county, so the filings are all in our office. I work with all the 14 township clerks and the city clerk, and advise them on the law and what they can and can't do. Proof all the ballots, we print the ballots, that's a whole process in itself. It's really a very detailed, we read those proposals upside down, backwards, frontwards, comma, because you cannot, I can't emphasize enough of the detail that's in those, because if there's something wrong with it and it's your tax dollars, then that's not a good thing. And as candidates, I don't know if any of you are candidates in here, but people don't want their name spelled wrong on a ballot, they don't want to be on the wrong party, they don't want to have their term wrong, all that you have to think about. So that's pretty detailed. We also train about 250 precinct inspectors every 2 years, and that's coming up here this year. So we have classes that I run, and we certify persons to work in the precincts. So as you can see, the clerk's office is a really busy place. We do so many different things, and but it's exciting. I love it because it's always different. It's not boring at all. So it keeps us hopping, and I have a really great staff. I have 4 full-time person clerks, and one is a juvenile register that works just strictly with the juvenile family division, then a clerk in the circuit court, and actually I think there's 5. There were 4 and a half, and I just got a half-time because the circuit court has implemented a collections program because the county has so much money outstanding in fines and costs that state court office says you got to clean this up. I mean, to all the courts, not just our court. So the deal was, you give me a part-time person court and we'll do your collections program for you. So that was a little meeting I had with the circuit court judge about that. So we're in the process of doing that. And we also, like I said, I work really closely with the township clerks and the city clerk. And they're all a great group of people. And the precinct inspectors, we just couldn't run elections without all those people. So, my hat is off to them because they make me look like I do a good job. So, other than that, just speaking a little bit about elections, I do have some handouts over there for filing requirements. If anybody wants to put their hat in the ring, we have November filing requirements and August filing requirements. The August filing requirements, April 24th, which is just a week and a half away, is coming up, and that's the filing deadline for August, or for the August ballot for partisan. So,
Why so early?
well, it's not really early. We do a lot of stuff early. Well, there's the filing deadline, and then there's ballot proofing, and there's printing, and the clerks have to have them usually about 6 weeks before an election. So if you think about it, it's really not that early. The May's election, which we have in a couple weeks, is just a special election, and so that's done in March. So, yes.
Isn't the precinct delegates, the deadline, the May 8th?
Precinct delegates have 3 different deadlines. Oh my God, I guess I didn't. Let me get one over here. There's 3 different deadlines for precinct delegates because you can file in the county clerk's office. Until May 11th at 4 p.m. You file with the county clerk. I'm sorry, May 8th with the county clerk. And you need a precinct delegate affidavit of identity. And I have those here if anybody wants to file. And I brought my notary stamp, and I can notarize it for you, and you can file tonight. There's also a write-in for precinct delegates that you can file with your local township clerk. And that filing deadline is August 3rd at 4 o'clock. And then you can also file on election day in the precinct, and you file a write-in declaration of intent. And if there's openings, it depends on how many precinct delegates are in your precinct that can be elected, and I've gotten those numbers from the chair of each party. And if you get 1 vote and there's no one else, then you're going to get it with 1 vote if you vote for yourself. So that's coming up here for the August primary. There's also county commissioner spots that are open. And there are some township office positions that are open. If they were appointed midterm between last November of 2016 and there was an appointment process, then they have to rerun to finish that term until November of 2020. So there are probably, I think, 6 townships that have various openings here and there. So that is the August filings. And like I said, I have those precinct delegate forms over on the table, and I can take them tonight if you wish to do that. And then there's the November filings. November will be a bigger election. We'll have schools on there. School board candidates are going to be on the ballot. And there will be village candidates on the ballot. And Candidates without local party affiliation can also run on that ballot. If they want to run for, say, a partisan office and they didn't file for the August primary. So, and there's deadlines on there. Those forms are on the table over there if anybody wants those.
Are all the county commission seats filled, or have people running for them? Do you know?
Are they filled?
Yeah.
You have people filed to run?
Have people filed?
Yes, yes. Every position has somebody filing, has somebody filed, for that position. Not for both parties, because these are partisan positions, so there might be one party and not the other. Also, just information, Libertarians are on the ballot this year. They had 5% of the vote 2 years ago.
On the primary?
Yes, they will be on the primary ballot, so people can run, and we do have someone that's applied as a county commissioner in the Libertarian Party, so
Or can you tell
that's
us
something
what-
new.
Can you tell us what district?
It's for one of the city districts. Yeah. So that's not to say that they will have their own party in 2 years. It depends on what their percentage of their votes are this election, whether they will be on in 2020, if they will be their own party then. So, not that they're not their own party, but they'll have a spot on the ballot as a major party. So that's something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And we won't have any proposals on the ballot for August, but I know there will be some on there for November. The few that I know about that have already been turned into the state, one is the repeal of the Prevailing Age Act. The second is the legalized marijuana like alcohol. And the third is voters, not politicians, and that's about revamping redistricting. So there are about 4 more ballot proposals that are out. They're waiting for that language to come back in, and then they can circulate petitions if they're approved, so.
Can you tell me what that first one was you said?
The Prevailing Wage Act,
Okay, next one?
legalize marijuana like alcohol,
Okay, no, next one.
and voters, not politicians.
Okay, I misunderstood. Okay, keep going.
Okay. And so anyway, those are something that we'll probably see on the ballot in November. And that's about it on the ballot for those elections. If anybody has any questions on those, I'd be glad to explain anything. One of the new things that we have going on is new voting equipment. I don't know if you've seen the article in the paper, but we've had training on that. It's been kind of rolled out in steps. The city had used the new equipment in November for their city election, so that was kind of a small election to see how it went. And then in May, we have 8 more precincts that are using the new equipment. We have 3 school elections in May. We have Winnetka schools, Bear Lake schools, and Mesick schools. Even though Mesick is in Wexford County, their school district leads in Manistee County. So we have 2 precincts that we'll be using for Mesick School District. So it's kind of been rolled out in steps. So we had training just recently again for those 8 precincts. All the precinct inspectors came in, not all of them, but most of them. And it went real well. It was a real hands-on training. And then in August, the other 6 will have been trained by then. They're being trained in May. And so for August and November, we'll have the whole county on the new election equipment. So the voters probably won't see a lot of difference. It's going to still be that white cream-colored tabulator, except it's black. And it's got a window on it. The window is bigger, and it's more user-friendly. It will tell you if you have an error on it, say if you overvoted, or if you undervoted, or if you cross-party voted, it will tell you, race of County Commissioner District 7 overvote. If you voted
Does
for
it spit your ballot back out then?
it will only spit it out so far. It'll hold the ballot, and it'll tell you in the window what the problem is. And you can say, well, I don't care about the Michigan State University Governor's Board, but I might want to fix my township supervisor vote. So then you reject it and bring it back, and you take it back and get a new ballot and revote the correct way. If it's something that you don't really are concerned about too much, then you can cast it. And it will tell you on the readout, ballot successfully cast. And all this takes a little bit more time because these are not only tabulators, but they're scanners also. So they are scanning every ballot that goes into that. So in the case of a recount, not only do we have the paper ballot that you fed into that, but we will also have a picture of every ballot on this tape that we can print out, and we can take that to the recount if that's allowed by law. Right now it's not allowed by law, but down the road it probably will be. We won't have to carry bags and bags of ballots. So that's neither here nor there. But I mean, it's a scanner, so it takes a little bit longer to read that ballot, and then it will tell you if it's successfully cast or not. So that's one of the things that you'll see in the precinct is those precinct inspectors are going to ask you to stand there until you see that on that readout ballot successfully cast, because in the past, a lot of people just walk up and feed it in and they're out the door before it's even dropping in the ballot box. So we want to make sure that people are looking for that message that says their ballot's cast. So that's kind of interesting.
Who pays for does the township have to pay for that new voting machine, or does it pass?
Well, there was $30 million left over from the Help America Vote Act in 2002, I believe it was. And then there was another $10 million that was appropriated by the legislature last year. So there was $40 million. So the state, if you will, paid, or the Help America Vote Act paid for the new equipment. We have 10-year contracts with these companies. There were 3 vendors that you could purchase, 3 different types of equipment. And we purchased the Dominion system, which is what we had. And we had been using that for 12 years, and it was very good equipment. We were confident with that equipment. It's accurate and little maintenance and very good customer service. So we went with that same company again, and I think we'll be happy with it. So anyway, this money bought this equipment, so the townships didn't have to pay for it. There is a 5-year maintenance contract that well, it's free for 5 years, and after the 5 years, then the township will have to start paying for a minimal, I mean, like maybe a couple $100 a year contract. The townships will, and the county will have to pay.
Now, these voting machines, are they kept at the township facility then, or
Yes.
do you pick them up and bring them somewhere?
Nope, they're kept under lock and key at the township facility. They should be stored with their ballots wherever they have a little, most townships have a little room that's for election equipment. And it seems to work out real well. Yeah. You know, with the electronics, you don't really want to move them a lot. You know, you don't want to be jiggling them, hauling them back and forth every time.
How many townships have the new equipment then? All of them?
Well, 8 of them have them right now because they're using them in May. The city has it, they used it in November. And then the other 6 will get them here the end of May for the August election. So May 10th, we're doing the rest of the training for the other townships. So anyway, that's where the money came from. And we thought it was a pretty good deal. And you know, it's 5 years down the road, so I'm already telling my clerks, make sure you're budgeting, putting some money, put a couple, you know, $500 a year or whatever. So, or, you know, $200 a year, whatever you can, because then you'll know when your 5 year comes, if you have to pay for something, you'll have a little bit in the bank there. So there's been plenty of leeway.
But the machines are totally paid for. The only thing that would come up in 5 years is the maintenance contract, right?
The sheets, did you say?
The machines.
The machines.
Yeah.
Yes.
The maintenance contract is the only thing that...
But the townships still have to pay for their programming that they have for August.
Their updates.
Their updates, ballots, it depends what type of election it is. Like in May here, we have 3 special elections, the 3 schools, and Arcadia has a recall, and these are special elections, so those entities will pay for these elections. It's not a state or a federal election, so when they run something in an off year, you know, unfortunately, the burden's on them for that cost.
So should it be a budget line item in the township's budgets for?
Well, you know, if you're planning your elections and you know when your millages expire, the schools know when their millages expire, you can pretty much plan and get on a main election year and not pay anything. But you know, I've heard, you know, entities and schools say, if we have to pay $5,000 for an election and we're going to get 30 million, I mean, you know, that's a no-brainer to them. They don't care. So, even though it's our tax
It's not
dollar.
their money.
I know, but sometimes that's how they're thinking, you know, I mean, we don't wanna wait, because what if it doesn't pass, and then we have to put it back on the ballot? So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, when they put it on, and, you know, they say
Hoping
there's a
nobody
little
will
strategy
notice.
for that.
Hoping nobody will notice and forget. and not
Sometimes
show
they
up.
say people put on things on the ballot when, you know, in March or May, when people aren't around, you know, and
Yeah.
all the yes voters, you know, will go to the polls, the no voters, oh, we don't care. So, there's a little strategy to all that, so.
Yeah.
but- So anyway, just back to the machines, I have a little couple pictures here, and they're really hard to see, but the tabulator looks just like it did, except it's black, it's not white. And the screens, you know, sits on top of the ballot box, and the screens tell you. We also have this ImageCast X, which is the machine for disabled persons. And before we called it an auto mark, and it was a big machine that we pulled out of the corner and sat there and
That was
nobody used
huge.
it. Yes, well, this new one is a flat screen, and it's touch screen, and you vote on it, and then you print out the ballot. It comes with a printer, you print out the ballot, and then that voter will take that ballot and take it over to the tabulator and feed it in the tabulator. And it's a really nice touch screen. We're hoping that in the future, voters will just want to vote on it, because it really is quite nice. So, but we still have that paper ballot, so we don't have to worry about that. What else about those? Something else that's new this year is we are transferring our data election night by FTP links. So the precincts will be uploading their results to us, to the county. So like in May, it's not a state or a federal election, so they don't have to bring their results in until the next morning by 11 o'clock. But we will be receiving those election night through the FTP line, file transfer protocol. And what it is, and so, you know, I can confirm that it is a secure link. When the precincts are done with their results in their tabulator, they will write that to a card reader, which has a CF card, a compact flash card. And so that will go to the card reader, and then they will take that card reader that's not hooked up to the internet yet, right? So they're taking that over to their office computer that's hooked up to the internet, and uploading that file off that compact flash card to us at the county clerk's office, and we're going to get it through the internet on our computer that's on the internet, and then we're going to write that to this card reader that we have that's not hooked up to the internet. So on both ends, it's never hooked to the internet. There's just that interim that flash card is going to the reader, and then we're uploading that. So we'll take that compact flash card, and then we'll upload it to our software that we've got. We'll get a new computer for all this, and we'll upload it to the website, so you can see our officials, the unofficial results that night.
So they don't have to drive in at
No,
1 o'clock, and you don't have to stay there.
that's right.
Unless they don't balance, but if.
Yeah, yeah. So we're kind of excited about that. We did that for the city in November.
How'd it work?
Sweet, no problems. And we'll do that in May here for these 8 precincts. They did have to buy a card reader. It was $40, $50, and
And how's the unofficial tabulation dispensed? I mean,
Well,
how can we find out, or can the general public find out the unofficial?
oh yeah, we have a website that all of our election results go on election night. It's Manistee.county.mi.gov, and you take the county clerk link, and it's got an election link on there, and you can see all the results. All the archived results are on there as well. So
And it goes by township?
it does by township, by office. So it's pretty sweet. We're excited about it. Right now, in state and federal elections, the law says that you still have to bring them in on election night. So they'll transfer them to us. There is something in legislature right now that's trying to change that they can bring it in by 11 in the morning as long as we have the official results at night. But that's probably not going to happen before August or November. So, but we're getting there. It's coming. So, but you know, I just want to emphasize there is no internet connection hooked to those actual tabulators or computers. So it's secure. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest things. The state of Michigan was real sticklers about that. Paper ballots and the security and the accuracy. It's something that we don't want to bend on. So we're pretty excited about that. Other than that, that's pretty much about the election equipment. Did we have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Mike?
When they talk endless hours on TV about Russian interference.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds like your answer.
Vladimir?
It's
Yeah.
no-
He's
it's
probably
no
gonna
way.
not be very busy on election night, but not in Manistee County anyway. I'm pretty happy with what I see and pretty confident that, you know, if we had to check, we have the paper ballot still if we have to do a recount. And we also have the scanning picture of the ballots. You know.
How long do we have to keep the paper ballots after?
State and federal elections have to be kept for 22 months. A local election is 30 days after the Board of Canvassers approves them. Yeah. And, you know, I hate to say this, but I kind of keep
I
on
think we have a whole
that.
room full of ballots.
And there's no need for that.
When do you tabulate the absentee ballots, and did you do any scanning of the absentee ballots?
The absentee ballots are tabulated on election day after 7 a.m. before 8 p.m. So as people are voting, and there's probably somebody doing AV ballots, one Democrat, one Republican, they're opened and they're done in lots of 10. So when they open the envelope, and they're in the secrecy sleeve in the envelope. I don't know if anybody's votes AV here, but there's a secrecy sleeve in that envelope. So that's pulled out, ballot stays in that secrecy sleeve. It's divided by, you go to the e-poll book, it's our electronic poll book where we note ballot numbers and things that are received back, AV ballots that are back. And, you know, it's checked in that ballot was returned, separated, so we don't know what ballot number it is. And then they're ran through the tabulator at that time. And yes, they are scanned, just like any other ballot that goes through. Is there another hand, Nancy?
I got a question.
Yes,
If you would just run through the schedule of paper elections, the absentee are actually 7. And they are held the papers are actually held for 22 months?
the ballots,
The paper ballots are held for 22
federal and state elections, they're held for 22
Okay.
months. Yes.
Thank you. What's after 30 days?
A local election,
Okay.
yes. Yep. Anything else? So also, I just wanted to go through a couple of bills that are pending, that are in the House and the Senate. There is a recount fee bill, Senate Bill 290. It's about a recount fee increase. It's where if a candidate has less than 5% of the vote, the fees are higher because, or higher than 5% of the vote. The fees are higher because,
It's a waste of time.
well, I hate to say it's a waste of time because it's their right,
It's
but
still a waste of your time.
you are not gonna find 5%. I mean, you're just not gonna. Those tabulations are pretty darn accurate. And so, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of ballot counting, and, you know, we bring in teams of counters, and candidates bring in attorneys, and the attorneys have attorneys, and it's a process, and it takes a whole day to do some, you know, I know there's the Jill Stein recount, that's kind of sits in everybody's mind, and we never actually got to do that. It was the night before it was called off. We were ready to go, everybody had their ballots, and we were set to go to Cadillac with all of our clerks and our counting teams, and we didn't have to do it, thank God. But
Yeah, this isn't Russia.
it would have been, I mean, it's the process, it's a pretty, we've done, I had done a recount when I was in the clerk's office with Ray Franz and Dave Pelsrock. Remember that state rep race years
Yeah.
ago? That was a recount, and that
We
was.
did one with Richard and Schmidt and.
Right, well, I'm talking, like a countywide or
Yeah,
a district-wide, but
But
yes,
even that
we've
was a lot of
we've had
work.
smaller recounts, and they're a lot of work, so, but, we can always do it, so we're confident that we'll be within a vote or two. The only thing that sometimes varies, if there's like a stray mark or maybe a pen rest, sometimes those machines are confused. So if you look at them, then you can say, oh, this was a pen rest, it probably counted the other vote, because there's more in the circle. Or sometimes instead of coloring in the circle, people will circle the circle, and that won't count because it's not in the circle. So there's a lot of things that you can look for when you're actually looking at the ballot, but it's far and few between. You're not going to find over 5%. So anyway, that bill is looking at raising those fees. What else? Campaign finance dates are being aligned with other filing deadlines. There is a House Bill 4700 which addresses precinct delegates, and what that bill is to take the precinct delegate certification out of the precincts on election night and put them back with the Board of Canvassers. And I know the County Clerks Association is backing this bill because we feel that the precinct workers have enough to do on election night. And after you're there for 14, 16 hours, and then you have to certify precinct delegate names and amounts and totals. And it's just something that we think should be removed from the precinct and go to the Board of Canvassers because they're certifying everything else. So that's in the works. There is also the House Bill 5207, which is about the open-close primary, where primaries, like the August primary, would be treated like a presidential primary. You'd have to pick a ballot style or a party rather than a column on one ballot. And that's out there. I know there was some money that was appropriated. It was a financial provision. That extra cost. County clerks are not in favor of this bill only for the reason that, we have some precincts that have split ballots now. They have maybe 4 or 5 ballot styles already. So you would have to have a ballot style for every party. You'd have 20 different types of ballots that you'd have to give out in your precinct. Talk about a mess, money, confusion. So we're not really in favor of that bill. I don't know where it'll go. I don't think it'll go far, but. So there's also a voter reform that's got a whole bunch of bills with it. Talks about no reason AVs, preserving the straight party voter, voter registration by mail up to 15 days prior to an election, automatic voter registration, election audits. There's like a whole gamut of stuff that's in that voter reform bill. I won't give you my opinion on that.
What did the Clerk Association say?
No. Some of it, okay.
There's goods and
There's
there's bad.
some good and some bad. Let's face it, we're in the computer age, and no reason AV. Well, if you really wanted to vote AV, you could just say, I'm not going to be in my precinct on election day, and you could get an AV. So, no reason AV. Do we care why you can't get to the poll? I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
As far as registering 15 days before an election,
No.
how will we police that?
Yeah.
I know people don't want us maybe to police it, but
That's why
then
I
you
won't do it.
complain about voter fraud. Which is it? So I have some opinions on that, yeah. What's the other?
Automatic registration, I don't like that.
Yeah, automatic registration. Well, right now, when you change something on your driver's license or you move, their Secretary of State is supposed to be asking you, are you changing your voting record? Are you a U.S. citizen? Before it used to be automatic, and that's why we had a lot of non-U.S. citizens on the voter rolls,
Yeah.
because it was automatic. Well, now they're required to ask them at the Secretary of State's office. Hopefully that's happening, and I think it is. I think it's been cleaned up a lot.
But do they have to prove it? I mean, I could go in and, no, I'm
They
going
just-
place, oh, yeah, I'm a U.S. citizen.
Well, they vouch, they sign an affidavit
Well,
on this.
big deal.
Well, it's their felony. It's not our felony, it's that voter's
Yeah,
felony,
but
so.
but how are you ever gonna know?
They never change.
Yeah, I mean, how do you, what do you want them to show them their green card? I mean, I don't know, but that's what the law is currently, so.
English.
But, so anyway, that stuff is out, that voter reform is out there. And so, anyway, this is a big election year. It's not like a presidential election year, but it's still a gubernatorial election year. We'll be electing the governor, the secretary of state, the attorney general. Those terms are all up, so it's going to be a big August and November elections. Senator, rep in Congress, state reps, Board of Education. We have a judgeship that's open here, the probate court.
Who left?
Who's that?
Judge Brunner's term is up. He's expiring.
Is he?
Okay.
He is running again, yes, he has filed. As well as John Hosworth, he is a
Okay.
prosecuting attorney.
I saw he filed, but it didn't say,
Yep, that's for the probate judgeship.
okay.
So we'll have some of that, and then we'll have some town, then the locals that I had gone through. So it's a big election year, even though it's not the presidential year. It's still a lot of stuff on the ballot, which means a lot of training for clerks. We have 6 new township clerks in the county and a new city clerk. So 6 out of 14, that's a pretty good size turnover. So we are working hard on that.
Do they let you have a lunch hour?
No.
Not too often, not too often. But it's exciting, it's fun to get some new blood in there. It's a good thing, because new blood is new ideas and they're ready for it. So they attend a 2-day training class in Lansing. They're required to do that to run an election. Clerks are, yes. We all have attended election preparation training every 2 years. The Bureau comes in. We just did that a couple weeks ago at Manistee Township. We are training on the new election equipment. We've had days of election equipment training. There is a qualified voter file, the QBF file, which is we maintain all of our voters when they move, when they die, when they turn 18, when they move out of the country or whatever. There's a new system. It's called QBF Refresh. And it's now a Windows-based program. There again, technology upgrading. We had the regular QBF program for 12 years now. So we're all training on that right now. We kind of kid about, could they have not rolled it out in an election year? Yeah. But they did. Board of Canvassers training is coming up. Joyce, it's in July. I found out today.
Oh, good.
And so they are training. We also, like I said, we did the ballot bag training. Precinct inspector training is a half-a-day training. Those 250 precinct inspectors that will be training here coming up in July. And I'll do that again in October. I'm sorry, June, end of June. June 26th, actually. And then we'll be doing another set in October for those that missed it in June. So, lots going on.
I'm sorry, please repeat that I was writing.
Precinct inspector training is June 26th.
I have a question.
That's going to be at Manistee High School in the auditorium. I'm going to change it up a little bit, do something a little different this year. We were doing a hands-on training where we have stations, and every 10 minutes they would go to a new station. Well, we're going to change that a little bit. It's going to be in the auditorium on a big screen, and I have some videos, and got to change it up a little bit, right, every couple of years.
I have a question for you, Jill,
Yes.
about your County Clerks Association. How many county clerks, and is it a district thing, or is it?
Well, there's 83 counties in Michigan, and I think there's 82 members, all but one in the UP doesn't ever pay her dues. So,
Hey, don't say Iron County. Don't say Iron.
I don't know which one it is, but I just hear people complain about it. Anyway, it's a very active association. I'm actually the secretary of the association, so I do all the minutes for that.
Where, when, and how?
We meet 4 times a year. We change areas. I have to go Sunday, I'm going to Lansing for 3 days. And we also, when we do the Lansing one, we also have a legislative reception, so we meet with all of our senators and representatives, and you know, it's all political. So even at the local level, we have a lobbyist that we pay with our dues. It's yeah.
Are those county paid dues then?
They have county paid dues.
They're not personal.
No. But the county dues, then we have MACAC, Michigan Association of Political Action Committee. We're registered with the state, and we donate personal funds to have our lobbyists lobby for things that the clerks want, just like you or any other candidate or any other PAC committee. So it's a pretty active committee, a pretty active group, actually. We meet, like I said, 4 times a year, and then our 83 counties are divided up into districts. So we have 5 districts, and like this northwestern region, it probably goes from Oceana County up to Grand Traverse County is in one district. I think Leelanau County is in our district too, to the mid-state line. So it's just, and it's an educational group. You know, you don't learn any more from anybody than your fellow clerks. And it's a good group to work with. I mean, we've got some clerks that have been there 30, 40 years, and then you get new clerks every year, so.
Are you in contact with them
Daily.
other than the meetings?
Daily.
Daily.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we have like a listserv, and if you have a question, you don't know what to do with it, you can't find it in the statute, you can't find it in a clerk book, you get online and you send it out, and you get 80 responses that says, this is what we do here, or look at this statute, this is where it's at. And so it's just a real good forum, resource that, and I have made some lifetime friends in this group, so, yeah.
Jill, the word lobbyist kind of brings.
I know, that's kind of a sour taste in your mouth, I know it.
It keeps the screwy bills from seeing the, leaving the committee.
It does.
Make adjustments, because the legislator don't really understand what's happening in the trenches. And it's the job of the lobbyists to let them know. You really want to do that? Let me tell you what the repercussions.
I mean, like I said, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but like our lobbyist is going to the state and the Senate saying, this clerks association does not want 15-day registration for voters, because.
Let me explain why. Yeah.
Let's be realistic here. What comes in from the state in 15 days? You know, nothing.
Right.
So, you know, there's things like that. And this precinct delegate thing, we got a lobbyist lobbying for our precinct delegate. We think it's a good idea to get it out of the precinct, get it to somebody that can take the time to certify. You know, I mean, precinct delegates, you know, you got to count the Jim Smiths, the James Smith, the Jay Smith, the Jim Smith with an E. You know, you have to determine that all in the precinct, and that's a lot to do by a group of precinct inspectors that have been there for 12, 14 hours. It just is another 2 hour at the end of the night, you know. So we just think it's a good move. So, you know, things like that. So yes, lobbyists aren't all bad. I know it's kind of a nasty word.
But they are, God said.
But it's necessary for people that are in the trenches that know what they're doing to get their voice to be heard by senators and representatives that don't know.
They don't.
So anyway, the other thing I just wanted to touch base on was CPLs. I kind of did a little bit earlier where the gun board was eliminated, the county gun board a couple years ago, and the county clerk has that responsibility now, that administrative responsibility. A couple laws that are out there pending. House Bill 5414 offers a lifetime CPL for $50 more than the standard. That's out in the House right now. I don't know if it'll pass, but it's out there. There's also another House bill, 5814, that wants to lower the CPL application fee to $40 from $100. Of course, I'm not in favor of that, but let me clarify that. The county clerks get a cut of that $100 fee. We get $26. The rest of it goes to the state of Michigan. So,
If we take you to dinner, would it be less?
well, we do all the darn work.
Yeah.
So, you know where that cut's going to hit. It's going to hit at the county level, and
$2 probably.
I don't know, but I'm not. And forgive me, but I'm a CPL holder. I'm pro gun, but lifetime CPLs, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
Our lives change over our lifetime.
Yeah, somebody gets one when they're 25.
What if you get a felony and it doesn't get reported right? And
Or you get a felony out of state or something like that.
So, there's pros and cons. I know it's a touchy subject,
Because
but
they're for 5 years now, right?
Yeah, it would be.
they are for 5 years, more than 5, but not more than 6.
Okay.
Depending on when your
When you
birthday
get
falls,
it.
when you get it.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you control the training at all for CPLs?
We monitor the CPL instructors that do the training. I talk to probably 1 or 2 a week, just questioning them and verifying, or if we get exemptions. Like I had one, and I'll tell you this, I had to approve a CPL for a blind person the other day.
Why? How?
There's
Did they
nothing in the
pass?
law that says a blind person cannot have a CPL. Now, I'm sorry, but I kind of had a little problem with that, and I called state police, I called the instructor, and I said, listen, are you telling me that this person went through this class and shot however many rounds, 50 rounds of ammunition? And they said yes. I said, did they hit the target? Well, that's not required.
Oh, jeez.
Did
So
they
anyway,
hit anybody else's target?
so things like that. I personally, and I am not a biased person or a prejudiced person, but
That's kind of goofy.
I don't know. But there's nothing in the law that prevents that. So that person has a CPL now.
What's required to get a concealed weapons permit?
To get a concealed weapons permit, you have to have a day's class from a certified NRA or USCCA instructor.
Oh, they knocked it down today.
Yeah, I think it's usually a day class now. You have to have 3 hours of range time. I think you have to shoot so many rounds of ammunition. You have to be a U.S. citizen, you apply in the county where you reside. And no felonies, can't have any felonies. And fingerprints, yeah. And there's a whole list of questions on the CPL, on the application, if you have any mental health history and all that kind of stuff, so you have to have the application.
It's $50, you said?
$100 for a new one, $115 for a renewal,
Would it be cheaper just to carry the gun?
$15 for fingerprints.
Well, in the class.
Well, you
was
open carry, you can open carry in Michigan.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
can't conceal carry without a permit. So.
And the class was, I think, 150?
125 or
It depends on, different instructors have different, but it's usually around $100, $150.
They do them at the Muscle Builder Club.
They do,
Yeah.
they do.
They do it at Big Bear.
There's some good classes that are around here and
They do it at Big Bear.
Yeah, Big Bear, Fin and Feather, muzzle loaders,
Shooters in Traverse City.
yeah.
Did you say it was 100 for what? A new CPL and 115?
15 for renewal.
How come it costs more for renewal than,
I've asked that myself, I don't really know.
it seems
It's
like
just
you
the law.
need less paperwork and stuff to do?
Well, it's really the same paperwork. There's just an area on the CPL application that you fill in for the renewal. But we still have to we go into the Michigan State Police portal and put in all of our information, just as we do for a new one. So, and it's all tied to your driver's license now. When we put in your information, your driver's license pops up and looks at us, and we can verify everything. That picture from your driver's license is downloaded right onto the CPL permit,
So your
so
latest-
you don't have to bring in a picture anymore. We use your driver's license photo, so. Yeah. So that's like the clerk's life.
You go home at night?
I do, but I don't sleep too well. Any questions or? Yes.
You said that you're the clerk of the circuit court.
Yes.
Is that just the records of the circuit court there? And you don't take minutes at the circuit court, they have a,
Well, there's always a stenographer or court reporter. We are the clerk of the circuit court, which is like the keeper of the record.
yeah, okay, that's what I.
So, we like open court, swear in the witnesses, keep track of the exhibits.
Well, they used to do that themselves, did they?
Well, the stenographer types, and she can't type and mark exhibits at the same time. So sometimes they'll do it before the court hearing, sometimes they'll do it during the court hearing, but we keep those exhibits. We make sure that there's a log that shows every exhibit, the time it was entered, the time it was asked, the time it was entered, the time when it's given back, blah, blah, blah. So but actually the girls, the clerks in my office are also court reporters now. We had gone to and got certified for court reporting. We do video recording now in the courtrooms, which is new this last year.
Who's we?
My staff.
Your staff.
Before they contracted it out for $20,000, $30,000 a year. And now my staff does that before a referee. And they make a little bit more money an hour, which is a great deal to the county. It's also a convenience thing, We get pop-up hearings daily, numerous times a day. So before you'd have to go and contract with a court reporter. Now we have 5 clerks available in the clerk's office that can do it on the spot, so. It's a nice service that we have worked out with the court and
When you say
save some money.
you keep the exhibits now, are you talking about evidence?
Oh, yes.
So then,
Always.
do you have a special evidence room, or what do you have?
No. If it's a weapon or a drug, it goes back to that agency, to the police agency, to their room. But we've got,
Well, if it goes back.
Bloody
how do you
shirts
keep
and
track of
whatever.
when it comes and goes then?
oh, we log everything we do.
Even from back there?
You betcha. You betcha.
Covering your butt,
Because exhibits are not considered court filings. So, and it's then when the trial is done, they go back to the persons that admitted those exhibits. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting.
That's awesome.
It is pretty interesting. So, anything else? That's kind of what we do in the clerk's office.
A lot.
It almost seems like there's all these things that they don't know where to put them, and they end up putting them all in the county clerk's office.
That's kind of what we think too. But thanks for letting me speak. I hope I gave you some information that you didn't know, and appreciate it. There's those forms over there if you'd like to file for a precinct delegate. There's also, you can also be a precinct worker. There's applications there to be a precinct worker. I brought them in case you want to go to training in June. So, thank you.
There's hardly any.
Does anybody else have any announcements or anything they want to say to the group?
Okay.
If not, we will see you Thursday, May 17th for Professor Wagner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm done with the meeting at the bungalow and here on 28th Street. There's a John Deere 3692. But then it's got another number on it, 5055E, Elmer's. Looks like a brand new John Deere to me. The tires don't even look dirty or anything on it. Anyway, John Deere. I'm in front of the bungalow and I'm looking at busy US 31 North